What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. I want to welcome everybody in here to the live chat. Wow, what a long day, but very humbling day and very rewarding day. And I was very honored to be welcomed in court today. It was great to even just be out there in the morning with all of the Free Karen Read supporters, and then being able to walk outside court after sitting in on the Karen Read side and supporting Karen today, to come out and meet with all of you and having a little bit of an kind of a get together after party. It was very great day. I mean, we're all tired. We're all out there long and late. And it was well worth it, 100% worth it. But I don't want to wait too much longer. I'm going to bring my guests in tonight, because all the great thing about the commonality between all of us is not only are we reporting on the Free Karen Read movement and case and trial, but we've all been inside the courtroom now, which is like awesome. And now we can get all that different perspective here and bring it to all of you here. So I won't wait too much longer. I'm going to bring in my longtime friend here. We'll bring in Tom CPU. Tom, how are you?
Great. How about you, bud?
Good to see you. And of course, we have Jess Machado from the Fall River Reporter. I want to welcome her in. This is her first weekly check-in, and she said that she would check in with us throughout the remainder of the trial. So I appreciate your time, Jess. I know you're very busy, and it's such an honor to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here, as always. Hi, Tom.
Hi, how are you, Jess?
I'm good.
Good to see you.
I'm excited for this show, actually.
Yeah, I am too, because we've all now been inside the courtroom, and we have, all our different perspectives. And that's what's the beauty of bringing, like-minded people together. Let me start with a round, like kind of a quick round. I'll go to Tom first. Tom, tell me about, because I was trying to think about this today, like when you first started covering this, okay, how much has it differed for you now that you've actually been inside court? How much has changed for you? Do you get a different perspective of it now, or?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
To go from supporting Karen outside to going inside and supporting Karen, it's a completely different vibe altogether. It's almost like you're more proud to sit behind her in court, to say, I support this lady. She's factually innocent, and all you people are a bunch of jerks, Whereas outside, I'm just another one of them people. I just happen to have the camera, but I'm just another one of the people walking around. So,
yeah. Jess, I'm going to ask the same question. How about you? I know you've been out with the supporters. You've done a lot of reporting on Aiden Carney, Turtle Boy. Now you're kind of picking up the Karen Read trial. How much has this differed for you? I get, watching the lives, reading the media, reporting yourself, but now actually being in the court.
I mean, first of all, I feel very lucky every day that I get to be in the courtroom. This is a national, international case, and it's much bigger than what it seems when you're in that very small courtroom. So, number one, I'm eternally grateful and thankful that I have readers and followers that have given interest to the story. So that allows me the opportunity to go in and report. I'm very excited. There are other people that I can talk to that have been in there. It's one of the reasons why I was excited that Aiden was in there, because then we could kind of talk and compare. Yeah. And now that there's another layer of people who are reporting on this and sharing info like you guys, I'm excited to be able to kind of talk that out and get your perspective. It's a lonely place sometimes because we're very quiet. We can't talk. We can't talk to each other. We're just kind of in there and on our computers. So I'm interested to hear what you guys say. But listen, I think for any of us to be in the courtroom, whether it's an invited guest or as a reporter, we're very lucky to witness this live. And we get a perspective that you can't get through a TV screen or an audio. We get to see, we get to watch, we get to feel the feeling in that room. And I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about after you've been there. So it's very special that we're able to be there.
No, yeah, I completely agree. It is funny because I talked to my dad today, and I know my dad is watching. Hi, Dad. How are you? I was talking to him today about it. He goes, well, what did you think? How was it? And he said, will you listen to the testimony? I'll be honest with you. When you're in there for the first time, and maybe that settles a little bit once you're in there after, if you have the ability to do that. I was so just taken in from everything, just trying to really visually take everything in, the environment, and what does the jury look like? What are the attorneys look like? How about the people that are watching? Now I'm watching the reporters and seeing how they're reacting. So it's very different, I think, because I was just trying to take it all in. So I might have missed some testimony, but I think points that jumped out at me. I'm a visual guy, clearly. So when they were up on the screen, which is in a horrible position, I think it's great.
Yep.
The media, I'm going to tell you, that screen that you're seeing on TV, media is not seeing that.
Right.
Nope.
I even saw at points the O'Keefe family, Paul and Aaron. I mean, Paul, I think you've seen on chin. He's literally,
His head's all bent over side.
look, it would be nice if they had another TV, maybe to the side of where, but I think just because that courtroom's so small, it's almost impossible to do that.
Yeah.
But I think I was more intrigued by that, seeing the evidence that was on the screen, watching the videos, and of course, when the dynamic between Lally and Jackson. I mean, Lally gets up, kind of slumbers everybody to sleep. You look down at both tables. It's Lally's very disorganized. Literally walks in today to the courtroom like this with a stack
every day.
Yep.
Every
And
day
like,
is like that.
he looks like like when a kid is going to school, like an 8th grader, well, maybe like a 5th grader, and their book bag blows open, and it's like the papers fall out and they grab him and they try to walk into class. That's what it looks like. And then you look at Karen Reed's team, and everything is clean and concise and highlighted and stapled, and it's just like perfection.
Organized.
Yep.
It's
Very organized.
Yeah.
And then just to see Alan Jackson jump up, and I'm sorry if I'm stealing anybody's thunder here, but to just see Alan Jackson stand up, and when he gets up to that podium, the whole courtroom just lights up, and they just attention right on him. He just grabs the attention of everybody. So that was my
So
experience.
I love hearing you say that and that you can feel that. I can tell you that for the people who aren't really behind Karen, I think they downplay the intensity of Karen's defense team. And when you're in that courtroom, you can see it, you can feel it. And I'm sure you noticed Lally's, even his shoulders are kind of slumped, and he leans on the podium, and Jackson is constantly with his hands and moving. And how can you not, as a human, whether you're a juror or a witness in the room or what have you, how can you not be drawn to that? I wanted to ask you both, would you mind if I ask you a question? We're going to flip the script, Brian. I want to ask you questions. So let me ask first this question to both of you. Do you mind if I do this? This is I'm hijacking your show. It's terrible.
No. Go
All
ahead.
right. So what do you
we're
think
here.
about how close both families are sitting and how they're kind of facing each other? So give me your thoughts on that, because in the other courtroom, like I've described, they would have been separated. They wouldn't have seen each other. Did you recognize how close that is, or do you think it's manageable? Is it intimate? What do you think about that space?
Tom, I'll let you answer because I've done a lot of talking first. So go ahead, Tom.
I think it's really close. It's unusual that it's actually that close. However, they made a courtroom out of a corner room. That courtroom is not laid out.
Yeah.
For the prosecution or for the defense or for the jury or for the families. I think it was just, let's just throw one there, like I can't see them holding court in that courtroom. It's just small, and not that it's small. The layout isn't. It's not a legal layout where the families are separated, where the prosecution, the defense, and no, it's not like that in any way. It's all And you notice Lally, he doesn't walk behind the defense table to get to the podium.
No,
never,
not.
Never. And when he stands at the podium, he's got 2 piles of papers, and they're about this thick each, and he just goes through them all day. That the judge got to say, listen, you got to go up there with 1 legal pad, not 30.
I think somebody needs to start a Lally's paper pile Twitter account. That would be great. Since there's one for everything else, we need one for those.
Yeah,
Brian, what's your thought on the setup of the room and how the families are so close?
Yeah. So again, I think I have to agree with Tom. I think the caliber of this case deserves the respect of a larger courtroom. I think that the public should there should be more people that are allowed in to see this trial, because this is a very historic trial. And I think at the end of this, in my opinion, when Karen Read is 100% exonerated of all these charges and goes free of a not guilty exoneration, there should be more people to witness this, because this is going to change a lot, I think, how the justice system works. And it deserves that. It deserves the people to be there and see this. The thing that I found very interesting, and it was almost uncomfortable on my part too, because listen, let's be honest here. And I don't like to say the other side, because I try to give a little bit of respect there, but the other side, they're looking at me. They know who I am. I was very close. I mean, almost a person's width from one of the gentlemen that sit on the O'Keefe side. And I literally at times could feel him staring at me. And it was, and it's interesting, it's intimidating a little bit, but, I was just kept making sure that I was very respectful. You're very close, and you're close to the media too. The media is kind of up behind the O'Keefe's family. But you can see them in eye shot. There was times when I looked over at Aiden and, just kind of see what he was doing, Ted Daniel. I think it was difficult for me sitting, because I was in the corner seat just where the aisle was to go out. So it was hard for me to see some of the jurors. So I had to kind of keep leaning. And that was what I really wanted to focus on throughout the day too, and just see how their reactions were. So again, not a suitable courtroom for this case. I feel, again, it deserves a larger courtroom. It should be in a larger courtroom. But, and then your audio visual issues too, where the screen is so far back, and, the O'Keefe family has to bend around to look, where it should be more in a suitable place for everybody to see. Sorry, I kind of rambled a little bit.
No, good points. I agree with all of that, actually.
Yeah.
And if you notice, only the first two people on the other side, on the O'Keefe side, can see the screen. The back row is not seeing anything.
Yeah.
And like what do? They can't they can't get up, walk around, and
right.
So that's not really fair to them.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you
Really
said that,
not.
Tom, because I was feeling that too. It's not really fair to them as well either. And I try to be respectful, to both sides. This is hard on everybody, but I am 100%, 1000% there to support Karen in every way. So that will not change. That will not change. Can you all just do me a favor? I'm just going to pause for a second just to get caught up on some donations that came in. So let's do this. I know I missed a couple of super chats. Let's get this through, and maybe one of my moderators have been keeping track. So let's add $5 here. John, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. You have member access to all my memberships on the homepage. Grant's Pants with the $2 says this whole panel has ridden the courtroom fine.
Yep.
Steve, thank you so much for the $5. Can you all invert your streams in honor of today's testimony? Yes, the inverted camera footage. We were talking a little bit about that before this stream, and we're going to get to something that was very interesting that was said at the end of court today as well. Jen, thank you so much for the $10. And Dina checking in saying, great lineup. Some of my favorite two people to watch. West Coaster loving the vernacular, especially when you say wicked. The more we watch, the worse the Commonwealth looks. Absolutely. Also, how can the taillight spread that far apart under those circumstances? That's one of the first things that I said when I get out. Like, how does taillight get like 30 feet up on the lawn? That literally, you're saying that this just exploded into thin air. And
Brian, there's an 8-inch Cape Cod berm in front of the house. She would have been airborne.
Yeah, I know.
Airborne.
I know.
Oops, a hazard at 24 miles an hour at that curb, at that angle, you're gone. She's ending up in the front yard.
Yeah, I know. Reality Check, $5 says Sean made a huge observation from the Sallyport video. You should invite him on. I would love to get Sean on again. I reached out to him well over maybe 2 months ago. He had to check his schedule. I'm going to check back with him, I promise, and we'll get Sean on here again. Let's see. Shelby, using her 3 months, says, what do you think of the Commonwealth filing from today? We'll talk about that. And then where are John Socks from SJ Howard, member for 8 months. I appreciate that. Also want to add this too. A $25 chat came in, says the CD is from Jillian. The CD is disgusting after today's Sallyport video. Case over. Hubby is in from Middleborough. We stand with Karen Reed. Thank you so much. And then Trish dropped a $20 and she said, let's get this to the finish line. It's funny. We're going to talk about that. And I think the jury's feeling that too. So, but if I have I don't know if any of my mods picked up that total. If not, we'll get it at the end and make sure we donate the 25% back to Karen. All right, let's talk about, actually, no, I'm going to ask you, Jess, what do you think of the courtroom layout?
I'm much more comfortable with it, obviously, than just my first day. So I think the more time you spend in it, the more comfortable you become. I can tell you, I often think, so I'll mention this. John DePietro has been in there for the past couple of days. I don't know if he was there today, but he was there. Yes. Okay. So yesterday and the day before, John DePietro had a very interesting point, and I never thought of it until he mentioned it. He was talking about the acoustics in the room. He was talking about the in and out of the room, people allowed to go in and out of the room. And I was thinking about Fall River District Court, where I've covered a couple of very non-notable media-wise murder cases, obviously very important to the families of the people who were killed. But I've been in the courtrooms there and they are brand new. I can't remember, but this courthouse is within the last 10 years or so built, I guess, or maybe just about 10. Brand new, very spacious, a lot of room. This courthouse is very, very old. And I think he was a little shocked by that. He's used to being in these, newer courthouses. I am too, but I never really picked up on it. Listen, I think it's very intimate. I think you can see Karen breathe, if you're watching. I think it lends to the character of this whole case. I think it'll be nostalgic for a very long time after this case is over, and we'll remember this courtroom and how it is. And I mean, for us, for members of the press, we watch Bev walk right by us. She's right there. Sometimes I just want to talk to her and be like, I love your shoes. You know what I mean? Like so I think it's fine. I mean, I wonder what it would be like if it were more new. I think Karen's team would fit right in. I think this is a Lally courtroom and they would be better suited in a newer courtroom. I don't know if it's going to make a difference. I think all that matters to me is the jury, what they're doing, how they're reacting. I'm glad we can see them. I'm glad you guys can see them. And I think that's the only thing that really matters is how comfortable are they? They've done their best to make it comfortable. I mean, keep in mind, if we were in a newer courtroom, we would never have to have these air conditioners going. We wouldn't have to shut them off and disrupt testimony. But it's at Norfolk Superior and everybody has to deal with it. So yeah, I'm fine with it. I like it. I'm comfortable there.
Brian, how many times did the judge ask Lally to speak up today?
Oh gosh. I didn't hear it as much today, maybe a couple, but I know that she's been whacking on him this week. It was bad. And I'm sorry, Tom. And, and to the acoustics of the room, I will tell everybody, it is very hard to hear in there. I don't know what it does. It just absorbs sound in that room for some reason. I mean, like Alan Jackson was talking very loud today. And it was still kind of hard to hear him. You would think, I mean, this is such a huge case that they would have figured out all these audio and visual, issues, even if it just wasn't the first week of trial, before trial, but we're almost 6 weeks in the trial. You think they'd probably fix something or bring another audio system in, but that's not going to happen. So, but it is very hard to hear. And,
I've been supplementing with my headphones. So some of us will put on the live stream from whether it's 25 or Aiden sometimes, and I'll put my headphones in so I can hear the witness better than actually in person. By the way, that's how most of the people in the press box will watch what's on the screen. We see what you see on TV just by popping it on our screens right there. So we do get to see it.
Got it. Yeah. Reality check with a $10. Thank you so much. There's a woman officer that walks in the Sallyport and then immediately turns around and walks back out. And she's on the witness list for the defense. Happy to contribute to Karen Reed and you. Thank you so much for the 10. Let me just get this one out of the way. DW, a $20 super chat. Great work, Brian. Glad you went to court today. It was an absolute honor to be there. Absolute honor. And I'll share a little bit more of my day as we kind of get through this. So let's, I know that the Commonwealth filed a motion today. I didn't get a chance to read it, but I did hear a little bit about in court. And apparently the Commonwealth wants to argue about some of the defense's experts, if I'm understanding that correctly. It doesn't surprise me.
Fine time to argue defense. Come on.
It doesn't surprise me. I think clearly Lally knows his ship has sank. And maybe I'll refer to the jurors here a little bit. You know, watching and observing them today, when he was talking, there was not many people engaged at all. They were looking down, or they might have just been taking notes. And I did notice when Alan Jackson stood up, it commanded that attention of the room. The jurors perked up. They started to look at Alan. They would take notes. And I watched, you know, quite a few of them, maybe two or three of them. It was almost like this tennis match. Alan Jackson would talk, and then they would look at the witness. Alan Jackson would talk, they would look at the witness, and they were very, very in tune with what Alan Jackson had to say today. So
I wonder if at what point do the jurors as human beings begin to resent Lally for taking so much time, not being able to be heard, for dragging out testimony. I just think as a person, at what point, now keep in mind, these people have jobs, they have families, wherever they are not, those things are missing them every day for all day. And some people obviously don't get paid, right? If they have a job, they don't get compensated for this. At what point do jurors begin to resent the prosecution for not giving them his all? You know, because I just don't know if, listen, if you've heard it, Lally will talk. Bev will say, I need you to speak up. His response to Bev is in the same quiet tone that she was coaching him on. He doesn't even like elevate his voice when he's responding to her. He very rarely corrects himself after she gives him guidance on it. And I'm just wondering at this point, does the jury resent him? And will that by default give them more reason to just say not guilty?
Right. Yeah.
You don't think they want to hear about the weather conditions that night? Or the
I'm glad we moved past that finally.
Or the day after, or the snowdrift that's monstrously high. The largest snowdrift in New England happens to be where this guy is.
No, we did hear about the weather again today, because I remember what was the weather at that point? I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I think
everybody knows the weather at that point.
That's what's going to make the jurors get resentful. They don't want to hear it. They're done. I've watched the guy put the notepad to his chest and look down. He was all done hearing whatever Lally was trying to get across. Nobody knows, and that's half the problem. Is he doesn't go anywhere. He doesn't get to a finite point. He goes and goes and goes, and then like he stopped. Thank God, because he wasn't going anywhere.
I was surprised today that we got cross, because I just felt like he was going to keep going and going.
I was so mad there was cross today. I was, for the jury, I hoped it was fast, but for me, because I wasn't there today, I was really hoping I wasn't going to miss it. I was shocked that he finished so early.
Let me just do these real quick. Go ahead, Tom.
I got a dumb question real quick.
No dumb question.
Well, no, go ahead. Read the super chat.
No, what's your question?
No, go. I'm going to try to think of a different way to say it.
WB, thank you for the 10. She says, shoe soles are white, were white out in the bag, but black in the evidence photos.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Go ahead, Jess. Go ahead. We'll kick it off right now if you want.
So listen, I know we shouldn't put too much value in Twitter, right? But keep in mind, much of the evidence and things we've learned about this case were generated by a blogger, so to speak. So I do think there's value. But for the first time today, when I was on Twitter, somebody had shared a picture of the shoe found on scene, and it looks like the sole is black and that the one in the courtroom is white. And then somebody actually put pictures of two Nike sneakers side by side, both of which from the top up look extremely similar, but one has a black sole and one has a white sole. And I really need this sorted out. And I don't know if like the masses have found an alternative or additional photos, but if I'm scrolling through like I did today, I really paused and I was like, wait a second, is that shoe that they found under the snow a black bottom? And if it is, why is the one that they showed white?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Two different shoes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is the theory, like, are we walking through this and thinking that the other shoe was potentially full of blood? They couldn't, or something happened to it, so they had to actually go and buy another shoe during a snowstorm? I mean, how would that have worked?
Dogs usually take a trophy after they go and attack. They usually grab something, a shoe.
That's a very interesting theory, Tom.
Well,
okay, but then where did they get the other shoe? And they didn't have much time, right? When was the second shoe found?
6 days after, I believe.
6 days after.
And that was after this large snow melt they had.
And then isn't it ironic that Bukaki and the chief were just driving by at the same time, but never communicated that they were going to be there at the same time.
I'm a little shook about the shoe, and you're saying it's 6 days. I don't know why I didn't think it was. So we're talking almost a week later, they found that shoe. And this, I need another picture. Does anybody have an alternative photo of the shoe found at the site? Is the sole really black? Because to me, that's kind of getting me going here right now. That this shoe has a different sole.
Tweet it at Jess. Jeff, give your Twitter handle out, and they can tweet it to you if they have it.
It's at Jess Machado Show.
Yeah. Let me just read this real quick. $5 come in and say, how well can the jury see the screen? Jury can see it
perfectly.
It's tough when there's small font or print on the screen. Especially today, it was very hard to read when they were showing the time on the video. So I saw some of the jurors struggling with that. And then said they can't rewind slow-mo. Like all of us, today was fire. How did the jury react to the audio tape of Karen Reed? Idiot move by Lally. I thought that was a dumb move as well. I think one of the most kind of shocking moments today where I saw the jury actually physically react was when, and it's funny because I did this with the video before too, that superimposed video when they showed Karen's SUV backing out and hitting John's Traverse, and it showed the tire moving, and he asked the lieutenant, did you see the tire move? And he went, yes, it appears to be, but tried to play the smoke and mirror. Well, it was foggy and it was snowy and it may look like this, but when that was shown to the jury, that reaction, I saw probably 4 of them kind of jump back and went, and you heard kind of this, oh, whoa, come over the courtroom. So
I had a question about that particular moment in yesterday's testimony with Yuri. And I don't know if any of your viewers or even you guys were able to figure this out. I believe at some point Yuri gave testimony where Lally asked him, was there any damage to John's car? I'm wondering, did anybody inspect the ring camera that actually shows Yuri going and looking at John's car to see if there was any damage?
Deleted.
Is that so? There's that.
I didn't see testimony yesterday, so I missed it, unfortunately.
Yeah, he said that he inspected John's car at John's house and that he saw that there was no damage to his car after Karen supposedly had backed into it, which was, again, yesterday was crazy. They actually showed video of Karen backing out during the day with no snow, just to show she was capable of backing out and not hitting John's car, which was in the exact same spot. But I mean, to me, regular person, hi, it's nighttime in this picture. It's snowing in this picture. She's stressed out and worried looking for somebody in this picture. And it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. Like there's so many factors that could factor into. I mean, think about how many times you pull in and out of your driveway. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're on point.
First thing in the morning, you're still out. You're still sleeping. Your brain's still kind of out there, and you're still wondering where, and you're consumed with that, and you're not thinking about this.
Listen, if I'm looking for my significant other that did not come home, I'm not thinking at that time, I'm backing up. Don't hit someone's car. I'm zooming out of there as quick as I can and getting out there to find my
I can't even tell you how many times I've hit the recycling bin at the end of my driveway. And some days I don't, but some days I do. It happens all the time. And I have a reverse camera, just like she does.
Yeah.
So
Nancy says, Nancy L with the 5. Thank you so much, Nancy. I appreciate it. She said, there's a waterfall bar photo where you can see his shoe sole is white.
Yep.
But that picture from when they found it with the snow, it looks black.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I have a question.
Yeah.
Remember at the beginning when the judge asked the Commonwealth, how long do you expect your side to go? They said 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The defense said we just need 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not possible that maybe the judge is going to say, listen, you had 6 weeks, your 6 weeks are up, and you blew it, and not call the rest of their witnesses. And then that may be like a stall tactic to keep Proctor off the stand.
In which was
from the Commonwealth.
Today. Proctor is going to testify. Alan Jackson confirmed it.
But for who? For what side, right?
He said for the Commonwealth. Said they are calling him.
And that means another day. So that's 6 weeks. That's 6 weeks in a day, because that only leaves the defense 4 weeks if it's going to be.
Well, let's play this.
I want to talk about that too, because this is this.
You understand what I'm saying, Jess?
Today? Pardon?
Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, the judge isn't going to tell Lally, listen, you've had 6 weeks, you're all done. Next, you guys are up. She's not going to say that, is she? Or is she going to let him do 30 more witnesses?
No, I think. Go ahead. Let's play it, Brian. No, I want to hear it.
Let's play this controversial moment at the end of court, a very confusing moment at the end of court, and maybe we can add this into the equation here. Let's listen to this. Let me just speed it up for purposes. So this was after the last sidebar at the end of the day, and Alan Jackson had asked Bev, "Hey, I want to keep going. I'm trying to get in my time. I want to play a 10-second clip of a video," and she went, "No, sidebar." So now we're coming back from that sidebar, and I want you to hear what Judge Bev said here. I don't want to go too far ahead because
lawyers. I can
hang on one second. Let me just bring this back to normal. Let's listen.
Safely say that you will get this case for your deliberation.
Sorry, let me go back just a little bit. Here we go. Right here.
When this case is going to end, and I don't mean that in any negative. After speaking with the lawyers, I can safely say that you will get this case for your deliberations sometime the last week in June. We'll know better next week. We will not be in session next Tuesday. We will go full days, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. We will not be in session next Tuesday. I have to give you those cautions again. Please do not.
That's 14 working days, Brian. Minus.
What do we make of that?
14, and that's I'm counting Fridays. So that's every Friday and every Tuesday except the 11th is 14 days left. And you're going to be done? You're done with this?
But could it be a possibility this, Tom? They come in and the jury said, listen, we've heard enough. Could it be that?
That hasn't even made that determination yet. They're not there yet.
We also have Juneteenth, which is a holiday, so we'll be closed on that day.
14.
I was pretty shocked when we heard that. Obviously, before we started, you played that, Brian. I'm pretty shocked. Not a lot of experience covering trials. I have witnessed 2 murder trials, and almost both of them, the Commonwealth and the defense were equal in their time. One, was unequivocally, we had video proof that the guy murdered this person, so the defense was less, but just to think about the disparity in the amount of days that the Commonwealth has already had. So we're on day 21 today of testimony. And how many more witnesses? Let's just add, if you're saying we have 14 days, right, Brian? So let's add another 5 days of testimony for the Commonwealth. That would leave 9 days for the defense.
How's
I don't
that fair?
know.
Unless, of course, the defense is counting on something. Maybe let the prosecution take up that next 14 days with their rambles for the feds.
But let
Because
me just ask.
I think this is just giving the feds more evidence because it's all transcript. It's all on paper. And then they're paper people. They need it on paper. They have the grand jury. They have the federal grand jury. Now they have this testimony from the same three people that we want to talk to. All three people been to all three grand juries, and if their stories don't match, see ya.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that jurors are complaining? Do you think they're saying, "Hey, like what like we don't need any more. Like we're kind of where we're at." And Bev is now trying to just speed this along. And I look at it as a positive and a negative. Had they made up their mind that we're on the guilty side, or they made up their mind already that she's not guilty?
Jess, how does the judge not see the jury just all checking out? They're all got their heads down, their notepads are down, their pens are down, they're looking around. Like, how does the judge not see that?
So, I mean, if we're playing devil's advocate, you can interpret that both ways. One, they've already made a decision she's guilty, or one, they've made a decision that
Right.
she's innocent.
Right.
I do think that I believe there's been reasonable doubt displayed multiple times. And I remind myself of that all the time. We do not need to prove who killed John O'Keefe here today.
Right.
We just need to have either an unequivocal resolution that she murdered him, or that there is doubt. One juror has to have doubt, not all of them, just one. And I think we've had that on day one.
Yeah. And KC says only 7 days left of trial according to the court website. That's crazy.
How?
Kenneth, Keith, thank you so much for the $5. I appreciate that. We'll round that into the total, and 25% of every donation tonight will go back to Karen Reed. I'm still waiting. I'm literally still waiting.
You couldn't recap the last 6 weeks in 7 days. I'm
still waiting for the moment where the Commonwealth is going to show me second-degree murder. I'm waiting. I haven't seen it. Like I'm not just saying that because I'm a Karen Reed supporter, but just even as if I was just an outside viewer, if I was sitting on that jury, I'd be sitting there going, where is the evidence that this is second-degree murder? I don't see it.
Brian, what did that person just write? How many days left does it say on the Commonwealth's website? 7 days. So there's no court tomorrow, okay? And we know there's no court next week, so that's 4 days. The week after that, we know that at a minimum there's going to be 1 day closed because of Juneteenth, right? So that also would only be 4 days. So we're looking at 8 days, and then that next week is the last week of June. So 8 days? 9, 10 days.
For how many more? 30? How many? Where are we on the list? Of there.
We've got to be getting close to under 30, I think.
Okay.
But still, I mean, we're still above 20. But well, I've watched trials with potential. I mean, do we think Gretchen Voss is going to get called? She's on the list. I'm pretty positive they knew they weren't going to call her, and that's why she was allowed in the courtroom, right?
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
They're not going to go through the whole list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
They just nick some witnesses and they just go right to Proctor, and that's it, or I mean, could that be a possibility?
I'm a little excited, though, that this is coming to an end. I'm wondering, well, I can't help but think about closing arguments. The other thing, too, by the way, is remember, like they said, wait for us. Like the Commonwealth gets to go first, wait for us. I think that kind of gave us like the connotation that they're all going to go first and then we're going to get all of our time. It sounds like it's going to be abbreviated and he doesn't need it. But I mean, now I'm getting a little excited. I want to see how this is going to end.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have a lot on Proctor. I mean, remember going back to the opening statement, we're going to show you how Trooper Proctor illegally went into Karen Reed's phone and was looking for nasty photos and texting that out to his cohorts and saying that I haven't found anything yet. Like, who the fuck are you to be doing
That's
that? Seriously, I'm
conduct unbecoming.
swearing,
That's
Jess. I
conduct
apologize,
unbecoming.
but
See
You
ya.
don't have to
Gone.
apologize to me. That's
That-
fine.
But no, that's unacceptable. We can't have that of our law enforcement people.
Right.
No, absolutely
Right.
no.
let me get this
Well,
in real
while
quick.
shocking,
Right.
by the way, while shocking, right? Like that you heard that. I don't,
Yeah.
you can't take that and say I'm playing devil's advocate. It doesn't make him like a bad cop. I think human nature, some guys are gonna, they get a phone, that's the first thing they're gonna scroll through. There's
No.
way more incriminating evidence about the kind of police officer Proctor is than that. But yeah, I mean,
I agree.
it's par for the
As a-
course with
As a
this.
police officer at that level, you do not do that. I don't care if you open the phone, you find something, you
Right.
you shut it. It's you got to give a little bit of respect to each no. He showed disrespect, complete disrespect in every aspect of his job towards Karen Reed.
Yeah.
End of story. He wasn't even supposed to work that day. Don't even get me going on Proctor. He wasn't supposed to work. I'm gonna go die, and that'll be on my tombstone. I'll die with that. He wasn't supposed to go to work that day.
Keith, $4.99. Thank you so much. We're rounded to a 5. He said, I forgot to write my message. No problem. He said, Bev looked disturbed in that video at the end. Thoughts? I think she's just tired. I think she's just
Do you
tired.
guys
Let me go to
notice
this.
how the judges interacting with on the sidebars?
Sometimes.
How she's interacting with Lally versus you can tell she's talking to Jackson or
Yeah.
Yannetti and versus Lally.
Yeah.
I mean,
she looked to me almost like irritated in all the sidebar stage. She was kind of, I don't know. She looked kind of like scolding. Oh, look at this. Who we got? Oh, who's that?
Hey, there he is.
Hey, what's up?
That
Hey,
doesn't
Will.
look like you're home.
No, I'm not home yet. I'm not till tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Miss Shorty, thank you for the $7.99. Says free Karen Reed. And let's see, give me a break. 2024, $5 says, what about Bev's mannerisms, behavior at that 10-second clip? I thought she was gonna cry, or it looked like she got her ass handed to her. No, yeah, I mean, it was interesting. She shut down Jackson wanting to play the 10-second clip at the end. Went to that long sidebar, and then essentially was just like, no, we're gonna call court for the day. I was like, what? And Jackson was just getting started. So
Yeah, the thing is yeah, I felt like Lolly was in panic mode, basically. When he went to just show the video of Karen backing into John's vehicle, you saw how he was just like, oh, Your Honor, I'm going to object to this. Like, why? You want to object to him presenting video evidence like you have been doing,
Right.
And yeah, it was great. It was just great to watch them work.
It's different. It's a very different perspective than watching it on TV and being in the court.
Can I ask
100%.
Will a question?
Yeah, of course.
Will, what do you think of 34 Fairview?
Oh, it solidified what I already thought. But it was great. Like, but that's not to underestimate the word solidified. Because any wondering that I had was gone. Is now gone because I was able to see that there's just no way. There's no way in any reality that you're ever going to convince me that people could not see John laying out in that lawn. There's just no way. I mean, I've never seen anything more apparent in my life.
And all they drove away that way, Will. All their headlights went the way that right in front of the house. So their headlights would have swept everything right by the flagpole.
Yeah, I mean, what I can't wrap my mind around is that's one of the first things that the jury saw. So it's like the jury saw what I saw today, like weeks ago, and I'm like, I mean, Brian, you saw, and Tom, you saw yesterday, and you've been seeing, Jess, like this jury more and more. I mean, I saw it in a span of 2 days, just 2 days. Well, 1.5 days. 1.5 days. I saw the jury a difference in their restlessness. You know, already just a massive difference in just one day. They were already tired of it. The way that they reacted when Jackson showed that footage was, you couldn't hide it. Like, it was crazy. There was like at least 3 people that were just like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah. Yeah. There was definitely an audible gasp today when they saw, like I said, and Jess, I wish you were there for that. The
Yeah.
audible gasp. They showed that Karen backing up. They superimposed it, like they blew it up, and they showed John's tire move. And literally, I looked at the jury right when it was about to happen. I think I saw 4 of them kind of snap back a little bit, and there was just, remember, Will, it was a kind of an audible gasp, like, oh, like you kind of heard it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're definitely getting more comfortable being there. I mentioned yesterday that, and the first 5 of them, when they're in a break, they turn towards each other, they interact. I think they passed gum back and forth.
Mhm.
Keep in mind, in the beginning, these people didn't know each other. They didn't break bread together. They didn't talk at all. And they are much more loose. They're much more relaxed. And I think they're letting things show. We talked prior to the show about that first juror in the back row all the way at the top.
Yeah.
You guys don't know, but that window used to be open. They have it blocked off now, so it had a glare coming in. He was constantly looking out that window, but he's even more distracted than normal. I never see him write anything in his notebook. I never see him, really he's really looking everywhere else but at the witness stand. And that's just continuing to accelerate. I interpret that as he has had his mind made up already for a long time. And there are some jurors we know, and I'm sure, Will, you've seen, some are really intense. They really want to watch and pay attention and are curious. We always try to think in the press box, what could their occupations be? Maybe somebody's in the medical field or medical industry. Maybe somebody works in a hospital. So particular points of testimony are interesting to them. But I do find that they are getting more antsy and moving around more. And I think it's just because the testimony is falling flat. I wasn't there today, and I'm so sad I missed it. But Lally's questioning yesterday of Yuri was just monotonous, and
Right.
there's just nothing really to take note of for the jury.
The jury sees it, right? I feel like the jury at this point, at least some of them, feel like their time is being wasted.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's on the prosecution. That's their fault. It's between them and the judge as to whether or not their time is being wasted. The defense is just there to defend, like, we don't want to be here any more than you do, so they have that in common in that sense. And it's the prosecution's job is to make them feel like they have a reason to be there. And I don't think that any of them feel that way. I know that there's at least a few. I could just tell they don't want to be there, but yet some of them are you could tell are very attentive still. There's 2 in particular that are on the end, on the other end of the side you were talking about, the other end, and on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 on the very end. The 2
Yeah.
on the very end.
Yep.
Those 2 are always, I don't want to describe them physically, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Those 2 are constantly taking notes, constantly. And today I saw them taking notes, but more engaged.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 that stood out to me as that were the most engaged and least biased, just interested in hearing everything and assessing everything. At least that's the vibe I got from them. And today they were more engaged.
Let me ask you guys, and I was talking about this with Sue from Boston, NBC Boston. Who would you pick out of the jury, now that you've seen them all, that would be like the foreman or the leader of the jury? Because you have to have one that's kind of in charge. Have you thought about who might be the one that's in charge?
I did for a minute there, but I didn't put a lot of thought.
We'll talk about it off air, but I'm curious if we all have kind of the same ideas.
Yeah.
My
I
guys
have
in
mine
the back.
in mind.
Can't miss them.
Yeah.
That's who I think.
I have mine in mind. Real quick, let me just get to this. And this is a very important super chat that came in. Kelly Reed, thank you so much for jumping on and being in the chat tonight. We absolutely love you. She said, thank you both for coming into court with us. Plus, you're all for all your tireless support. We appreciate all. And thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody on this panel. I appreciate everybody in this chat, everybody that stands out in front of that courtroom and has sacrificed so much time. And I was saying that today on the end of my live outside the courtroom. If it wasn't for all of you, and I think Alan Jackson made a great point to me today, and I had the honor of meeting Karen's team and meeting Karen today, which was very special. And I got to share that moment with Will, was in the room with us. And Alan Jackson came over us and said something to the sort of, if it wasn't for all of us, everybody that has been doing the work on this, the public support around the world, that this case would be definitely different. And I have to agree. You all have made an incredible impact. You all have sacrificed so much to go out and take. And I hear everybody, I took a day off. I didn't want to go into work. I wanted to be here. I'm taking time off from work to be here. You traveled up, Will. That's awesome, man. That's like deep respect, man. You came up and you hung out and you had the ability to go in and sit in court twice, man. That's pretty good. That's awesome.
I still can't believe that. Yeah.
Awesome. And to take that and come up here and do that, we all make this wheel spin. And if it wasn't for the man on top, Turtle Boy, to really get the grease going in the wheels, it really wouldn't have spread as large as it has. And everybody's been doing their part. So,
well, it was cool what Jackson was saying, because it's like Karen Reed and her team see that, what you're talking about. And it was Jackson made it a point to tell us that today before court started.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
And he was saying to us that it was a pleasure to have us there, because they're so grateful for all of the support that's happening. Not just outside, but online and the positive social media. Because if you really think about it, I mean, he didn't say this, but when you think about it, it's nobody in mainstream media is stating all the facts.
Right.
We're the only ones that are actually exploring the facts and talking about them and being so loud about them and we're not holding back about it. And I would imagine, when they say that they're grateful, they mean it. And they really treated us like that too. It wasn't just, they didn't just take a second to tell us that. They were, between yesterday and today, they made me feel like I was part of that family, that team, and it was just beautiful. It was really great.
It was. And like I said, they're just so down to earth and so kind and just so thankful that we're there supporting. And I, just to kind of piggyback off Will, all the positivity, and they noticed that. They 100% noticed that. And it was just like, we're kind of standing there and Alan was like, do you want to like get a picture? And I was like, whoa, like, yeah, that's great. It's a great moment. And just to be so kind to offer that in the intensity of the moment that, they're in and being very focused, and they really do make us feel. And even at the end of court, when we got up and got dismissed, we were kind of allowed to kind of huddle around a little bit, and we started talking about some of the testimony that happened, and they were so kind to explain everything, and what did you think, and how about this, and it was just great to be part of that moment. So
I think the mainstream media has come a long way since this trial started. In the pretrial hearings, I can tell you some of the players were not up to date on this story. They knew nothing. They didn't know. Really, they knew nothing. They were just essentially jumping into it with no background. And I remember them not even really knowing where to find court documents about this, because we obviously have a really great group of people that put all these court documents online. And I was in the courtroom and I was just going to the Free Karen Reed, Justice for John O'Keefe Facebook page and pulling up docs. I would look at them right there and they were like, well, wow, I didn't know that. They've come a long way. I can tell you there are some people that were anti-Turtle Boy when this started, and they, I think, have been won over by him. I think they are starting to give him credit where credit is due. There are some, I think, that don't. But mainstream media is a.
I know at least one person who is a Massachusetts local, and she had Turtle Boy write a story about a friend of hers or something, and I don't know all the details. I won't get into it. I don't know what it is, but she hated Turtle Boy. But she saw the work that he put into this case, and it changed her opinion of him overall. She's
He wrote
much,
about me, Will. I don't know if you know that, but I was featured on a blog of his in 2020.
really.
Oh yeah.
And it was bad. It was
Oh,
bad.
terrible. Yeah. I'm still a fan. And the funny story is I reached out to him afterwards because he did it a little differently. He didn't reach out to me to authenticate anything. So he just ran with it. I think he does a little bit more, checking things now. Right. But back then in 2020, he didn't. I messaged him and I was like, I'd like to give you my side of this. I said a couple things and I said, he's like, you know what? Later on, a couple years later, because I still believe in free and fair journalism. I still believe in a very non-mainstream way of reporting news like we all do. I still respect him for what he does. He offered to take it down. I said, no, man, leave it up. It's like a badge of honor. I was Turtle Boy famous for a little while. And I believe in what he does so much. I mean, I think if you're confident in who you are and hey, he got it wrong or this isn't the full story. I didn't need to. It's still up there. You can Google it when you're done. But yeah, I think when you have to believe in what he does and how he does it, and it's a little different. But man, mainstream media is never going to get to the meat and potatoes of these stories the way that he does or the way that we do. So you have to give him some respect.
I think it's different. Like if you're here and you live it, or you come and you experience it, then just someone out in California doing a story on it. It's the people, that kind of encompass this whole story and this whole movement. And it, I have to say, and I said this in a post today, I mean, this has changed my life. Really has. I would have never met any of you beautiful people if this didn't happen. I wouldn't know all these people in the chat, or when I go out and people recognize me and say, hey, thank you for everything that you've done, because the bottom line is this could be you, anybody in this chat. And
what does that say, Tom?
People are amazing. Exactly what Brian just said. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget to say it. And he's talking about it right now. It's perfect.
And it's been an absolute honor to do what we do. It really has.
I met some really awesome people. Like I can't begin to tell you. And Will, you're kind of new here. So how was it from what it was back in where you're from to physically seeing, feeling? What's the difference? How was the difference?
It was everything I hoped it would be, and more. It was more than I didn't expect the reception that I got, but I'm more than grateful for it. I'm still trying to process it. I don't know how to, but because I mean, still, it's YouTube, man. I'm just an asshole who decided, okay, well, I'm just gonna run my mouth and see if anybody cares, and
it worked.
And I've been doing it a long time, but then I get involved in this case, and to get the support from the people who were the most affected by this, it's a game changer. Totally. Like I don't see myself doing anything with the same perspective as I did a week ago, and I was already grateful and I was already happy. That's why I came here, was just because I have to see things from that perspective, just at least even for a day. I have to, for me to even dare to talk about it the way that I do. And so doing that now, I'm like, wow. And getting to just interact with each person one-on-one, was just, putting faces to some of the names that show up in the chat that are always there and supportive. And it was just, it was wild. It was a lot. but so nice. So nice.
I think it's a really it's a testament to the character of the Reed family and Karen, that she is, during the most difficult time of her life, thinking of other people and rewarding people for the work that they've put in and for the support. And when you see her outside, you guys, even, and Tom, you're there every day, how she takes the time to hug people, say hello to them. I mean, this is
she knows
character.
so many people's names. She's walking
It's
by.
character.
Boom, 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 boom. It's more. It's her. It's who she is. It's more than that. It's so much more than that, Jess. And I can't explain it. It's like her family did. They gave her extra. I don't know what they did, but she's got extra because she's just on it.
Karen
Will
is
gives good hugs.
Yeah, Will, you give good hug. Kelly says you give good hugs, Will.
So does she. Everyone there does. Everyone there does. That was, it was fantastic.
See.
What was really interesting was, and I was just in Resistance to Silence chat, or on their panel just now, and I was telling them Karen is absolutely in control of what's going on there. Like the defense are doing what she's paying them
She
to
wants,
do.
right?
She hired the best defense team that she could get, for sure, without a doubt. But she is on top of everything. She's absolutely
engaged.
Very engaged.
She's paying attention to every moment. She's not just sitting there going, you're my lawyers and I'm paying you a lot of money, fuckers.
Right.
Just do this. She's not doing that at all. Like,
Nope.
She's listening to every word of every testimony. And if somebody is lying, she's got a document ready to prove it with a highlighted portion going right here. Look, this guy's fucking lying.
She's handing documents and looking through documents and handing notes. I noticed a lot of that today. Very, very engaged. And she'll look at the jurors.
She's hardcore.
I think she could pass the bar. She's that intelligent with what she's doing. I think she has to be. I think she's one of them people that can pick stuff up. I think she has that.
She's fighting for her life. There's no way she's going to drop the ball on this.
No.
Right.
I'm going to tell you one thing. The Commonwealth underestimated Karen Reed. They thought that she was going to lay down and take a plea and walk away. And she went, you know what? Fuck you. I didn't do this. I'm not going to fucking say that I did this. And just to take a charge that you want me to take, I'm going to hire the best lawyers possible. And we're going to get through this process and show everybody that the Commonwealth is fucking lying and that I'm 100% innocent. And that's what she's doing. That's
good. Go ahead. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
Oh, I was just going to say that I feel like my theory at this point as to what happened was he was murdered inside that house. I don't know how, but I'm saying as far as the frame up job goes, how that got concocted came from Jen McCabe hearing Karen ask if she hit him. And so here these bunch of drunk fuckers with too much power get together and they go, well, she thinks that she hit him. Like there. Like we can create a scenario here to where we can convince her, we can gaslight her ass to think that she hit him, and then she'll take a plea, and then and then everything's good, everybody's happy. It's not like we're screwing somebody over here. This is where they morally justify it in their minds, is they're like, well, she already thinks that she hit him. So what's the problem? Nobody's getting hurt here. She's the damage is already done. We're not hurting her in any way. If she's already willing to pay the price for it, then everybody wins.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that she didn't do it. And she sobered up and was like, I didn't do this, motherfuckers. Yeah. And the only way to take on an entire system, all from the DA down, and that's only as high as we know it goes. Right. From the DA down, how do you fight that? You get fucking Alan Jackson and David Zanetti.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how you fight it.
Yep.
So
No, I
I
agree.
mean,
I don't think that there's any other lawyers capable that could handle this case the way that they have. And I think the lawyers that Karen Reed have, Jackson, Little, and Yannetti are the perfect lawyer. I couldn't see any other group
dude,
of lawyers
they're
taking this
so
case. There's
good.
no way. When you're sitting in that courtroom and watching how they all work together as a team, they are so on it. I don't see it. She's been blessed
I
with the best attorneys.
They
I
highlight
love,
each other.
Yeah, they
yeah,
do. You're right, Tom.
and I loved being there the second day and Brian being in there the first time. So like, because
Yeah.
I was able to go, I was able to like just because I was still psyched from the first day, so I was still kind of like every little thing. I was like, yo, wait till you see this real quick. Wait till you see this. Like, and I'm leaning over to Brian. I'm like, look at the defense's table,
Yeah.
and then look at
Organized.
the table ahead. Like, Lolly is so fucking disorganized. He's got binders and papers scattered all over the
Those
fucking
binders,
place.
he's got a bunch of binders up there stacked up.
And then you've got David Yannetti, Karen Reed, Alan Jackson, and Eliza Little right there, and everybody's got their neat little pile of everything, their little laptops, their everything, and everything works in concert. If David Yannetti is up there doing a cross, or Alan Jackson's up there doing a cross, Karen Reed catches something, she leans over to Eliza Little, tells her, and then she tells one of them, and then they have something ready already.
Yep.
Well, I think that's a really great point too, from just observing. Karen has a team, and it's usually Lally all the way out there on his own. McLaughlin isn't really contributing much. And it's really just him on his own. I mean, you're saying about the space not being tidy and things like that. I think it's just indicative of the fact that this is a massive case, and he just doesn't have the help. He doesn't have the support. I mean, and he's obviously a different kind of attorney, but I mean, we've got binders that are perfectly labeled and organized with Karen's team. They flip over it specifically. And also Eliza is ready to go. She's so locked in. Yep. She's prepared. She knows exactly when they need something. And so many times, if people are listening at home and you're hearing a pause with Lally, it's because he's looking, he's reading, he's thinking. He's not as prepared as the other team is.
Yeah. I mean, and I mean, it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder if he's just a fall guy for all this. Like, it makes me wonder. I mean, because when a prosecution has a case, it's the opposite. You know what I mean? When the prosecution actually has a case, that means that they have a case and they are organized and they've got their shit lined up. They've got each exhibit ready to go, and it's okay, next thing, move on, next thing, move on, next thing, move on, and it's surgical. And it's like a football team just gaining yards, But in this case, it's him running side to side with the ball, and the defense is like, dude, I don't even have to like block you. Like you're
not crossing the line of scrimmage.
You're not even crossing the line of scrimmage at all. Like I don't even have to do anything. It's so crazy to watch. Like I've never seen anything like this. This is the biggest farce I've ever seen. I've never seen
I wasn't there today, so I wanted to ask you guys. I observed yesterday for the first time Karen react to testimony in a way that I've never seen her react before. When Yuri first started testifying about John's eyes and then giving his background about how he could deduct why his eyes were like that, Karen was shaking her head no. And not subtly. She was absolutely not, shaking her head no, disapproving. And there were other moments where he was testifying and she continued to shake her head no. And at one point, she even turned around and looked at her parents. That particular moment of testimony was when they said that he walked into the living room at her parents' house and she had her laptop open and her phone on the rest on the side of her. Karen was shaking her head no, turned around and looked at her parents. And I've never seen any type of reaction like that from her yesterday. I'm wondering, was there anything said today by Yuri that had her reacting the same way? I even asked Karen's mom after the trial hearings yesterday. I said, you know, can you speak to why she was acting that way? And she said, I don't really know, but I've never seen her react as much as I did yesterday. I'm wondering if there was any of that today.
She told me why,
Oh,
but now that I know that she made it a point not to tell you, then now I'm afraid to actually say. But
well, no, she said she was going to. Well, Mrs. Reed said, "I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. I'll find out." So she told you yesterday during the.
oh yeah, like almost immediately after Karen had reacted that way.
Yeah.
Because she was reacting the same way. You got to understand. Mrs. Reed was there. It was her house.
Right.
You know, her father was there. It's his house.
Right.
You know, but I will say this much. She said he was lying. He was flat out lying.
100%.
Yeah.
I remember today during some testimony, I think when Yuri was asked about where he interviewed Jen McCabe, Brian Albert, and I think Matt McCabe, and they said, well, it was at the Jen McCabe's house, and Karen literally was just doing the like no again, like this, like kind of like this is just so fucked up.
It was
like
at Brian Albert's house.
What's that?
Wasn't it at Brian Albert's house?
I'm sorry, yeah, Brian Albert's house, and she's just like shaking her head, like this is just so like who the hell, like who takes 3 witnesses and brings them to someone's house
and sends one of them upstairs. Just go upstairs.
Right. And she's just shaking her head like, you got to be kidding me. So I did see that reaction. And she did look back a couple of times back behind us, maybe at her parents or making, you know, a connection with someone behind us. But, you know, I saw a little bit of that today.
I mean, her family, they're going through this together. Like, her parents are clearly her absolute support system. Like I mean, you see it.
Mm-hmm.
They're sitting directly behind her. And whenever she feels the need to react, and she doesn't give a shit if the jury sees her react. Like, it's so crazy, like, to see in person the shit that I thought in theory on my channel validated, because I'm like, this is not, she doesn't seem to give a shit. And the reason why is because she has nothing to hide. She doesn't need to put on an act of an innocent person for the jury. She has no problem with the truth speaking for itself. So she will sit
many times.
Will sit there and as soon as he says something, go, oh man, and give somebody just a dead stare, you know, and look back at her parents like, yo, you know what I mean?
And it's just so like, and I think it's just the preposterous, you know, how preposterous all of this is. I think she's just as fed up as everybody else. I mean, if you're not, that's what he's saying. Like, if you're not seeing, and we saw it today with the mirrored video, the backwards 4 today on the Sally port. And I'm like, wait a minute. If you reverse that image, they're hiding the taillight that is in question.
You can reverse
and then there's video missing, and Yuri's going, oh, I don't know. I can't see the timestamps. I don't know. Like, I can't see. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You didn't see that guy jump frame?
Dude, how dope was it? Brian, how dope was it that as soon as Bev was like, all right, we'll see you all on Monday, court is adjourned, everybody finished, everybody said all rise, and then as soon as everybody turned their back and ready to start, you know, commiserating and walking out the door, Yannetti came right at me and Brian and was like, this is awesome. The jury now sees, he goes, the jury now sees that the prosecution is trying to deceive them, not us. They see it now. Which is awesome. And I was like, so for him to actually have that reaction to me and Brian, like that initial reaction at me and Brian, I was like, this is fucking dope. These guys are so psyched.
I call this the Houston, we got a problem, because that's definitely a problem.
But Brian, if you also notice that the crime tape is already cut, it's already cut to length. It comes on a roll. There's no roll of crime tape.
Yeah,
they already have it. That car was in that space before.
Oh, I told Karen about that today.
Yeah, what did she say?
She's what like this, because she was talking about this, and then I was like, yeah, and Tom actually noticed yesterday something interesting about the snow. Like if you notice, they're shoveling out snow that's not melted in the Sally Port before they pull the car in.
Yep.
And
I noticed that too.
And I didn't notice it. I mean, I noticed them shoveling it, but I didn't think about it much. But when Tom pointed it out, and then I actually told Karen about it when she was explaining what they were going to do here today, to me before the trial started or before the hearing started. I said, I was like, Tom pointed out this thing about the snow and that the tape was already cut to length. They didn't even use a roll. So Tom thinks that the SUV was already in there before they even before this footage that we're seeing even began.
Yes. So the problem is, and if everybody caught it, when they showed today, this 4 was reversed, which would be on that side is the taillight in question. So that taillight the whole time through that video was being hidden. So if you go back to the first slide that I have here, there's they're trying to make it look like this is the taillight. It's not, because it's the opposite of that. So that taillight has been hidden. And the thing that I noticed was weird too, if you look at the first slide, what fucking door have you ever seen with a door handle on that side right here? Door handles are usually on this side to go in. So I knew that was kind of weird too.
So did Yuri give an explanation as to why the video had been inverted?
So he said, well, he goes, what was his explanation? He said, well, it's not, he goes, it is reality. He's like, it is reality. But it's just a reverse of what you're seeing. And then Jackson was like, well, when I look in the mirror, that's not my physical being. I'm seeing an image of myself. And he was like, well, I don't know. And he kind of like stumbled around in it.
Yeah, he goes, at one point he said, he's like, well, because Jackson asked him, he was like, well, then you it's backwards. Like the writing, if I'm looking in the mirror, the writing on my shirt's backwards, but it's not, the reality is me. Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, that's a mirror image. He's like, yeah, it's a mirror image, but it's not backwards, it's reversed. And I'm thinking backwards means, like, if I was live, it would have been like, backward means reverse, you dipshit. What are you trying to pull here? I wanted to yell that.
That's the state police guys. I'm sorry.
I wanted to yell that in the courtroom because I was like, this like, what did you just say that shit out loud? Like backwards, it's backwards, but it's not reversed. Wait a minute. You just said that shit to the jury.
Yeah.
What do you think? One of the things that I always am thinking about, of course, with the jurors is this trial has gone on so long. We've had some moments where I'm sure any regular person would have that reasonable doubt, right? Lately, it's been about this SUV, the taillight, the hair, all of those things. I keep going back to the how long to die in the cold Google search. What do you think is a more impactful time frame of evidence and discussion, that time frame or what we're seeing right now as far as what jurors would interpret as something more important?
Good question. For me, I think it's like I did that timeline the other night, and I basically showed how Jen McCabe is a fucking psychopath. I mean, that to me, from that 1:30 time, all that action between Brian Higgins, Brian Albert, Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, that whole like 3 to 4 hour span, and just all of I mean, we went over it. The text deletions is insane, the amount of text deletions that she had. And it's like, if I was a juror looking at that, I'd be like, what is going on? Like, who?
So what are your top 3? Let me ask this question because it's not my show, but I like to ask questions. What do you think are the top 3 things that we've seen so far that prove that Karen Read didn't do it? I'm going to say it has to be her Google searches.
Yeah.
It has to be Higgins destroying his phone and throwing it away. And it has to be the hair that just miraculously stayed attached. Those are my things that they're lingering in my mind as we move through this trial. So what are your 3 things that you say there's just no way she did it?
So my 3, and then we'll go to Will and Tom because I want to hear there too. definitely the Google search, the deletions of all the tech, the Jen McCabe deletions, like what the fuck, right? And I think today, and over the last couple of days, just seeing the multiple pieces of taillight, and then today it was like I got to see this today, how they were all just like spread out, and I'm like, what are you saying? Like you're saying that John's body or his head hit this taillight and it just exploded into 90 million pieces and went, and that was a point that Jackson was making today. Like, what is an area that you're searching, sir? Like, what is a distance? And he said a 30-foot radius. So you're telling me that John's head or body got hit by Karen and then that taillight exploded into multiple pieces and went 30 feet in this way and that way and this way. It just, to me, is like, no. Will, what do you think? You're 3.
I think I don't know if it's just because it's fresh, but I'm thinking everything surrounding the tail light is going to be what's really going to shift the jurors. Because I think the Google searches are a thing, but I think all they do is just prove that the people inside 34 Fairview that night are dishonest. It just proves that they're shady, but shady of what? They're not accused of murder. So you can't really ask the jury to focus much on that. You can only use the collective effort of showing how dishonest they all collectively seem to be as way to show or give more impact to the other proof that they're going on, which is that video evidence in the Sally port and the tail light and whatnot. I didn't think the tail light was going to be much as far as that goes, but between what I already figured was not a big deal my whole thing was the chain of custody, but that was just a regular Wednesday to them to talk about, or a regular Thursday for the defense to talk about the chain of custody was like, okay, well, you logged it in. You didn't see who logged it in. You didn't see Trooper Proctor sign this. You didn't see him put it in a bag. You're his supervisor. You don't know his handwriting, blah, blah, blah. So all of that was already, boom, that was laid out. But showing that there's motive for them to lie, for all of those people to lie, showing that there's some sort of some sort of motivation for it, something driving it, which would be a frame up. You'd have to prove evidence of this frame up, and they did that today. So that's probably why I'm leaning mostly towards what they're going to show with this taillight above everything else. I think the 227 search is going to be telling, but you can't prove what happened in that house. Nobody knows. They're never going to get around to, this is what happened inside 34 Fairview and how John got those injuries, and this is why they left him out in the lawn. This is how they did it before. That's not going to happen. There's no way to do that because nobody knows what happened. So the stuff that's going to impact the jury the most is going to be the proof that there's a frame up and that there's motive for that frame up coming from 34 Fairview.
Tom, what's your 3?
All right. 1, we have an ATF agent who took an oath, and he didn't live up to that oath, and he deleted John's text messages on an FBI computer, and then took a SIM card out and cut it. So he deleted the data intentionally before he went and destroyed the data intentionally.
Right.
And then he put the 2 devices in the 2 different places because it gets incinerated. So to make sure at least one of them would be gone. Again, we expect more from our people, but unfortunately not. So we have a dirty ATF agent, Brian Higgins. Second one, we have a completely dirty police department, Canton Police. The chief and the deputy chief. I'm sorry, which chief? Both chiefs and the deputy chief and Sergeant Lank. All 3 of them dirty. Unfortunately, and then we have the state police. We have Proctor, Tully, Buchanan, And even Michael Morrissey, the district attorney, they all, including Lally, he works in that office too. It's a concerted effort. They're all lying. They know they're lying. And guess what? If I know they're lying and you know they're not, and you don't think they're lying and you're going to bring this forward, you're a friggin' idiot. Shouldn't be having the job you're doing. Get the hell out of office. Gone. Bye-bye. Nope. You're all done. Because we expect a little more from our state police. We expect more from the Canton police. And we sure expect more from ATF agents. This ain't right.
Wow.
Yeah, I
like
actually
seeing everybody's comments at the bottom, by the way, Brian. I like how you were letting everybody see what everybody else thought.
yeah.
A lot of the steam, a lot of I think the list kind of changes for people too as we're getting more evidence in this too. I know it
That's
has for
what's
me.
happening to me. I would have not have answered that a week ago. You know, the way that I just did.
Every week it could change, really.
Oh, great question. This is a great question. Just Debbie says, is Proctor going to be testifying? So at the end, if you watch my outside stream today at the end of court, Alan Jackson was talking in front of the mainstream media and said, Proctor will be testifying for the Commonwealth. So the Commonwealth is calling him. Be interesting. But we don't know if he's going to get there and say, I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth, which to me would ultimately sink the Commonwealth's case. Because what are you hiding? What are you hiding? You know, obviously we know they're hiding everything, but if a jury's going to see that, this is the lead guy. This is the guy that's supposed to do all, know all. And he's going to get up there and say, I plead the fifth after everything that we've just seen. Forget it. It's over. Done.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of objections, obviously coming from Lally during cross. But I would expect, based on everything we've seen so far, I'm kind of fantasizing about seeing Jackson having Proctor on that stand and asking him questions that he knows are going to be stricken, but yet the jury is not going to be able to disregard, regardless of their instructions to disregard the statement. But he's going to ask questions like, why do you think it took the prosecution 7 weeks into the trial to call you up here and testify? You know, objection, Your Honor, sustained. Sorry, Your Honor.
It's like you can't unring that bell, right? Once they hear it.
Exactly. And there's going to be a lot of that happening. I think they're going to apply that strategy quite a bit because they're expecting the objections and they're expecting the sustain. They're expecting Bev to show favoritism to the prosecution because she has been, clearly. They're counting on it. I would think so. And so now it's all jury. Everything is jury. They know they can't count on Judge Bev for any help. So we got to make sure that we get in tight with this jury. This jury needs to side with us. We need to get their attention, make sure they like us.
I have a question.
Yeah.
All he is. How big is this trial in the country or in the world? And how big can it be if it's not as big as you think it is?
I think it's gaining steam. I've seen a lot of this gain, but you have to see, I think it goes back to this grassroots movement here, the people that have been involved, you know, and that's, you know, I look at, you know, I look at it, I guess, you know, spreading awareness, a creator standpoint, because we're creators. And I just see, like, you know, just go back to Turtle Boy, April, then, you know, Will and Tom and Jess, we start jumping in around September, October last year. It's really when I jumped in. I think I don't want to speak for Will, maybe around the same time, Will, September, October.
Yeah. Give or take.
So I feel, you know, we have the man on top, TB. Then we kind of got in and, you know, lumped in and started doing our awareness about it. We're really the grassroots. But I just find it funny, like some of these really large channels, you know, they just started really making content when the trial started. And I feel like sometimes when I watch them, and I think Jess was talking about this earlier, that with other mainstream, even just the mainstream media, they really don't know what's really going on because they haven't been here. They haven't been in it. You know, we've been in it. We've been here, you know, and absorb this. And it's a different feeling. I'm telling you, for everybody that's watching, it is a completely different feeling when you're here and you're outside, or you get to sit in the courtroom, if you have the honor to do that, than what you're watching on TV. It's a completely different feeling. But I think it's growing. It's potentially is going to get massive. And I think it is moving the needle towards that. I mean, you're seeing it here. I mean, just everybody in here, just drop where you're from. I mean, we were seeing Australia. There was a couple that traveled from the UK the other day, right?
Yeah.
And went out there.
Yep.
I mean, there's people from all over the world now catching this. And in my opinion, it's becoming massive.
I think so we're in Massachusetts, and it seems like the last trial that I think that was real high profile was the Hernandez case, right? So I think that made national news. This has been featured on People magazine. The other thing too is we just had a trial going on for the former president of the United States, and I'm not going to make this political, right? Nobody was really watching that the way that they're watching the Karen Reed trial.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's because we're isolated and we're over here, but I'm going to tell you right now, the number of people that I know that are at work that are watching this trial during the day when they're working, the people that are saying, I have been working from home instead of going to the office so I can watch the Karen Reed trial. It is all walks of life. It is all different kinds of people, older, younger. It is checking off all those boxes. And then like, just from like I have an advertising background, from the visual perspective, Karen's beautiful. She looks gorgeous every day. So she has that appeal that draws people's attention, whether you're a male or you're female, people are looking at her. So she's easy on the eyes. There's another case that Court TV had been covering, and it was the sentencing of the Daybell murder trial, right? Lori Daybell and her two kids. I think this is getting more views than that one on Court TV at that time. I think as gory and weird as it is, murder trials are like this one thing that brings so many different people together. And I don't know, there's a lot going on in the world. People need distractions. You know what I mean? And I think the regular person not attached to this, nobody close to this, who has talked to Karen or has a personal connection to her, they're not thinking about that he lost his life. They're not thinking that she could go to jail for murder. They're just looking at like the sensationalism TV version of this story. And it's very attractive for people. So I think it's very big. I do think it's going to get bigger. I think it'll post hearings and post, whether it's an acquittal or what have you, it'll be even bigger. We know that there's obviously, things in the works for whether it's a Netflix or what have you. I think it'll get more notoriety after it's done.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me hear Tom. Tom, what do you think?
Oh, I think this is potentially one of the biggest cases ever. I mean, OJ was big, right? And what's the guy, the redhead in down south?
Oh, Murdoch.
Murdoch was big, right? Aaron Hernandez was big for us. This pales. This is bigger than anything I've ever even experienced. And the best thing is it's such an injustice that we're right. We are absolutely right in this one.
Yeah.
So that, I think, bodes in our favor and makes it even easier to make it go bigger. I think we're on the cusp of going like massive, like the world will watch, like you see in movies back, they do the future movies and everyone's all voting at one time. Like, I think the whole world will be watched. When this is all done, the last day is going to be, there'll be no internet. You won't be able to get a signal. There'll be thousands of cameras, so many people, the street will be clogged. That's what I think.
I think the verdict watch is going to be big on this. Once this kind of goes to a verdict, I think a lot of people are going to tune in. I can see that happening, especially here in Massachusetts. I think everybody's going to be watching this in Massachusetts when this goes to verdict. Yeah. Real quick, I just want to set this straight with the chat, and then we'll get Will's answer on this. I know a lot of people have been super chatting. I have been reading them, but my girlfriend's keeping the total in the chat. The reason I haven't pulled a lot of them up is I'm just trying to keep the chat flowing for my panel guests, because we have so many people on tonight, but I do appreciate everything coming in. Will, what do you think the potentiality of this right now? How big this is? You think it's worldwide, or?
I was talking about this in the car with Tom when we were going to 34 Fairview. And yeah, for a lot of the reasons that Jess just said, that, you know, Karen's very beautiful. She has that appeal. But the thing is the you know, that works against her when everyone thinks that she's guilty, you know, and it's just now coming more and more clear to the public that she's innocent. You know, people are used to the defendant being guilty, and they're ready with their pitchforks and ready to publicly, you know, but the fact that a lot of people don't want to think about it. They just want it to be simple, and they just have their pitchforks and they're like, ooh, cop killer, drunk woman, get her. You know what I mean?
Right.
But now that right now it's in the confused phase. Everyone's on the fence going, oh, wait a minute, she might be innocent. But before I swallow my pride and admit what people have been saying this whole time, let's just wait this out. And then right now we're seeing that pivotal point. And once the defense starts making their case is when we're really going to see more support for Karen Read and more popularity and more like demand from the public, not just locally, but, you know, nationwide to worldwide, that she's absolutely innocent and should not be going through this.
I agree. I completely agree. Jess, what is the perspective for you? Because you get to come up on these panels and, you know, you kind of look at it from a personal standpoint, but you're a reporter as well. I mean, you're in that courtroom. How do you kind of level out those dynamics of, you know, your person? I think you've been pretty open about it. You're very open Karen Read supporter, but do you find yourself sometimes having to balance that and how you write your stories, or are you pretty much out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I'm live tweeting, and that's my preferred method of reporting on this case, and I adapted from very early on, especially Aiden's hearings, I was live tweeting because there was no access. All you have to do is just take exactly what you see and type it into a computer. I don't know why this is so difficult for some individuals. It's almost as if there's some sort of filter that happens between the time it gets here and then it gets to the keyboard. I try to be very regimented with that. Sometimes I don't tweet as often because I miss something and I don't want to get it wrong. And I will share openly. I cheat, and I will, if it's something I didn't hear, I will look at Ted Daniels' Twitter account, because Ted somehow can hear everything going on in the courtroom and he's so perfect with it. So, you know, it's like I look over and I'm like, okay, Ted's got it, and I'll go back. So it's very simple. I just see it and then I write it, and that's it. If I hear it, I write it. That's it. As far as the stories that I've written, I've tried to, and it's part of my style of reporting, I try to bring human interest stories to the front of what I write about. I like to just report about those pieces. So I wrote about the supporters, about Karen Read. I wrote about how there are people outside that are supporting an accused murderer, right? And but how loving it is out there, and the camaraderie, and how kind they are to people, and they're just absolute devotion, and how I think it elevates her, right, every day to see them. Just think about what it would be like for Karen if she were coming into court and it were the opposite. It would people screaming murderer all the time and holding signs up and things like that. So when I report, I'm typing facts, but when I'm writing stories, I always try to give the perspective. And does it have a Karen Read slant? Of course it does. I mean, I will say my very first story covering this case was my interview with Ken Mello. And that, by the way, does have to do with this case. I don't care if people want to say it doesn't. It does. There would be no Ken Mello if it weren't for the Karen Read story and the Karen Read case. And that was my very first one, which was, I just was very curious as to, you know, the thought process behind, you know, the Commonwealth going after Aiden in this. They are connected. So that was my first one. And it was from the side of, I was really interested in what he had to say. So I think you can write your opinions. It's crazy. Every reporter in the box has an opinion about this case. I've heard all of them with the exception of one. I know how they feel about everybody. I know how some of them feel about Aiden. But they still report, you know what I mean? So why they kind of go after people like us in the non-mainstream media part of this whole thing, and they kind of say like, oh, we're all pro Karen Read. the other people have opinions too. They're human. They've made up their mind. They have things, you know what I mean? So, just report the facts, and then also you can share how you feel. I think that should be, everybody's human, you know?
Right. I agree with you 100% on that. I think it's really, it's such a crazy notion, like, because this is actually a fact. You know, you're persecuted for assuming that someone is innocent before jumping to the conclusion that they're guilty. Think about that. Like, our system is designed to assume someone is innocent before jumping to the conclusion that they're guilty without absolute solid proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But yet, for some reason, creators like me and Brian and Tom and reporters like you, Jess, and Turtle Boy are persecuted and ridiculed for defending an innocent woman when there's more evidence to dictate that she's innocent than she's guilty. And you're like, what Twilight Zone fucking am I living in? This is insane to me. Like, I
also think too, and I'm sure you all agree, like on the rarity that Karen is found guilty, say some evidence comes up and we have proof that she did it, you know, we're all putting our integrity as journalists and on the line, you know, we're going all in on something that we don't really have a proof of, you know. So that's why I think it's important when you're right. And every one of you guys has done the same thing. You report the facts. You're not making things up. But I will tell you, what's really crazy to me is there are people who have been covering the story that are not authentic with what they actually see and hear, and they write something that's I'm really shocked about John DePietro. I mean,
I'm so
I'm
glad
really
you said that, Jess.
I went to talk to him today. He's the one from Rhode Island, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I went to talk to him twice today and try to like bring him back and try to straighten him out to maybe fill in some of the gaps that he obviously has. Wouldn't even give me the time of day.
He made a comment, and this is what pisses me off because this is dead wrong. And you know that, and everybody on this panel knows this. He made a comment, I think via his Twitter. I remember a post that he brought up, and he said that there was reports that Free Karen Read supporters were following jurors home and harassing them.
Right.
How preposterous is that? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if that happened, and you all know this in this panel and this chat, if that happened, tell me Monday morning, the lead fucking story in every newspaper across the world would be what?
Mistrial.
Harassing jurors.
It would be a mistrial.
It would have been reported. There would have been somebody blamed for it.
That didn't happen.
Get it? Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we have what's her name? The one that coffin deaf or whatever you say. I mean, and these people have followers. John has followers. These people have followers, and it's so irresponsible to lie when you put something out that you're purporting it as fact. And I think that's what makes, you know, I think the Karen Read family appreciate the people that do get it right, because it's not only is it out there on its own, but it's also counteracting all of the wrong information that gets put out there. And it happens every day. I mean, I'm just waiting for somebody to say, hey, I think she's guilty, and not lie about why. You know, these people with these platforms are so irresponsible. You can have your opinion. An opinion is one thing, but you know, John DePietro saying, I knew for a fact that not one juror was buying, that police are not able to, you know, be corrupt. What on earth are you watching? I'm in there, and you guys, you can give your opinion on what you think the jurors are doing, but you can't definitively say every single juror in there is thinking this one thing, and people believe it. It's wild.
But the bottom line is, Jess, and I'll add to this, and then you wanted to jump in. You got to look at what are the platforms that people are watching. What are the platforms that people are watching? Because you look at the people
mainstream media, you know, mostly, like if in the grand scheme of things, if we're talking about how big this case is, most
media. But I'm saying when they come for the opinion pieces, they're going to come to people like us.
Sure,
you know, they're not going to the other side and watching that content. I mean, I've peeked in and watched some of those shows. They're getting like 50 people, you know, like it's telling you right there which way the public is feeling with this, you know, in my opinion.
I mean, you're right. I mean, it's crazy. Like those people there are like the people here, like, and I say here because I'm
Yeah.
here now, but they're like locally, they're all everybody has an opinion on it. Everybody knows about this, and everybody has an opinion on it. It's wild. Like, I mean, there was Tom, I guess, invited a certain few people to go to the waterfall and meet us there, right? You guys did.
Yeah.
And then, but there were people that were just there anyway. That, like, I walked up to the bar, and there was just some random guy there, really cool guy. His name's Connor, full on Irish too. Wasn't even like from Irish descent. Like, he was fucking Irish. He was like, oh, your shit's great, man. Like, and I was like, what? He was like, oh, I can't believe you're here, man. He's like, my name's Connor. And I was like, dude, yeah, full on Irish. Like, his name was Connor and everything. He watched my shit. And I was like, holy shit. He's like, love what you're doing, man. Keep it up. And I was just like, wow, this is fucking crazy.
Or just the
driving
people
by
that knew about
screaming your
us being
name.
there, and they kept
That doesn't,
kind of
but
cycling through.
but that's because I'm following this case and
Yeah.
talking about it. It's because it's affecting the people locally that much. Like, that doesn't happen where I live, like nobody recognizes me from my channel where I live, like, I live in a small town. They just know me as the guy that walks to the gym. So they're like, hey, and I'm like, hey, but they don't fucking know what I do. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, but here, like, everyone is talking about this case. Everyone at least follows it
Yeah,
and has
there's
an
not.
opinion.
Yeah, there's
And
not one
and
person.
and they know that they're not getting the whole story from mainstream media, which is why people recognize Brian, me, you, Tom, Jess. That's people know, because they know they're not getting the whole story from mainstream media, so they come to, these independent outlets to get,
Yeah, I agree.
information.
Like a supplement. I think I said it today when I was tweeting. I was going to watch what I was watching at home, and I was going to supplement my trial information with, Aiden's posts and Ted's, right? It's like a supplement to what you get
Yeah.
from just watching the proceedings.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
So,
No, I wasn't going to say anything. I
just-
was just agreeing with Jess.
yeah. No, I just, again, I'm sitting here. We're almost 6.5 weeks out, and I'm still waiting for the evidence to come from the Commonwealth that's supposed to turn. And believe me, I still get I get people that like write me messages that hate me, and they're like, Karen's going down. She's so guilty. And I used to write these people back, but now I just don't waste my time, because I'm like, how? Like, show me something, because I don't know what trial you're watching. And I try to look at it from a non-biased perspective and say, if I was a juror on this case, like, really, what way would I be leaning right now? And it was great to get that opportunity to look at them today and see their movements. I mean, Lally talks. Nope, they're not engaged. Alan Jackson gets up, boom, eyes on him, ping pong match. It's just I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you could see the people who are leaning forward versus like slouching. There's a lot of body language that you don't need to be a body language to be able to tell, where the jury is like getting the gaps filled in for them, when they're like, what the fuck, because Lolly just leaves you, even though the case, Lolly will still leave any one of us going, what the fuck was that?
Right. Exactly.
What was he? What was the
That's it?
point of the last 4 hours in here?
No, you're right. I do want to be respectful for time. Jess, I know, has been super kind to do this for me once a week, and we're coming up about 2 hours. Let's just do kind of our last statements. I'll ask the open question. I'll go to Tom first. Your perspective on everything. Actually, here we go. We know all the evidence that Turtle Boy has put forth, and reported about this and wrote numerous number of blogs. I don't even know what number he's on now. I think he's over 600 pieces of blogs on stories on this. From what you knew before to what you know now, and evidence that's been presented, has there anything that has surprised you, or anything that you were like, oh wow? Because I know there was a lot of question about John's belt when we heard about John's hat today. Was there anything that surprised you, Tom?
Yeah, the lack of evidence in the first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because the only thing I have is I can talk to you about the taillight.
Mm-hmm.
That was brought up. I can talk to you about his clothes that were put in the wrong bags that were wet. But I can't talk about Jen McCabe's stuff, Matt McCabe's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't necessarily facts. Those are what they think. So back to the facts, the taillight, that's a fact. The belt, the clothes, fact. His wounds are facts. The bottom line is this: we shouldn't even be here.
Yeah.
This got to stop. It's so bad. I mean, in freaking middle school, they have a mercy rule. If you're crushing the other team by like 6 runs, you're all done.
I think
Where's
the
our
jury did
mercy
that
rule
today.
here, guys?
I think the
We're there.
jury did that today. They're like, all right, how much longer do we have to sit through this?
There's got to be a mercy rule for this, because we can't keep listening. They're not presenting evidence.
Yeah.
I didn't think that would happen. But yeah, no, please go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
That's my thing. They don't give us anything to make. We don't have anything to judge on. We don't have to make a decision because there's nothing to make a decision about. Taillights all together. We know that. Impossible, but yet they did it. They found a glass in the middle of a snowstorm with a leaf blower. The guy never woke up, never come out of his house. Okay. Yeah. No. Enough.
Yeah.
I'm going,
Could
no.
go all day talking about
No, it's wrong. It's just wrong. It's so
just funny because this is stuff that we've been talking about before the trial even started.
Tom.
I love Tom goes, no.
No, it's just no.
Great.
And
Jeff, what do you
I
think?
feel so bad for the family. I feel bad for Karen's family. I also feel bad for John's family. Don't get me wrong.
100%.
I mean, they've had a lot of loss in their life, and no one knows loss. Like, you can't compare it, but the Reed family is going through something that you can't imagine, and look how strong they are. I mean, that, I don't know. I guess
real quick before I get to Jess. Anyway, I forgot my train of thought. Go ahead, Jess. I'm sorry. Anything that has surprised you that you haven't known about and you're seeing now?
I don't know if there's anything that surprised me. The Higgins text between he and Karen, the what I would consider to be somewhat flirtatious text messages. I think that would have been surprising if I'm going to say anything surprising. But at the end of the day, my final thoughts on this are, I think I fast forward to the jurors getting this case to start deliberating. They have these notebooks, and in those notebooks, there is at least one thing that each one of them has written down that would make them doubt that she did it up until this point. And that is all they need to acquit her. And I think every one of them has heard something that resonates with them. It's kind of like it's a feast. There's so many different things. So that's why I asked that question earlier. What are your 3 things, right? Yeah. So everybody else in the comments gave their 3. Everybody has something that just resonates with them.
I love it. It's a buffet of doubt.
It's a buffet of doubt. Who said that? That's amazing. So everybody on that jury must have at least one thing that they can choose from that says, this is the thing that I'm going to say makes me doubt that Karen Reed killed John. And so I think it will be an acquittal just based on that. We've seen it up until this point. They'd have to literally drop something that definitively shows that she did it. And then the jury may still find her not guilty because they're going to resent Lally for not dropping it the first week. So
Right.
I think,
Bingo.
that's it. I always think of the jurors. I'm obsessed with them in the best possible way. Don't anybody take that and, send it to the court, but I'm just obsessed with them. They have such a big job ahead of them. They look all really smart. And I think that they've already figured it out.
Totally. I totally agree. Yeah, totally. They're totally a buffet of doubt.
Yes.
Like, take your pick. Like, during deliberation, they're going to be standing there. They're going to be like, dude, hey, have you tried the taillight? I mean, you got the Higgins destroyed the phone thing?
So great.
Yeah, it's great.
So great.
How about that Google search?
Man, but this Google search right here.
That's great.
I can't.
Will, you're too much. You're too much, Will.
Just totally described that perfectly. Like, there is just anything. Take your fucking
pick.
Yeah.
Man, I'm cussing like crazy on your show. I just realized it. I'm sorry. I'm just excited. And I forget, sorry. That some people are like, don't do that. I'm really sorry. I really just realized that.
That's fine. We're all adults.
But definitely. That's I am convinced if it's all just about getting an acquittal, they could go into deliberation tomorrow and that's it.
Yeah.
But they're going beyond that. Like, it's fascinating to even just remember that one little thought that the defense hasn't even presented their case yet. That's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
They haven't even begun to
wait
to
for
present
us.
the case yet.
Wait for
Crazy.
us. Wait for us. All right, kids. It's about 2 hours. I want to do that. I don't want to go, but I want to be respectful to everybody's time. I just want to thank every single person on this panel for jumping up here tonight and doing this. Jess, thank you so much for checking in, and we'll check back in with you next week. Will, you're the man coming up here, hanging out in Beantown with us, and dude, you got in court twice. That's pretty fucking rad, man. That's awesome.
I'm super grateful. Like,
and
like, big shout out to Karen's family and team for letting that happen and letting us all sit in there and experience that. That was I'm never gonna have enough gratitude for that.
And it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you and spending time with you when you hung out here, and I appreciate it, man. Tom, we love you, Tom. Keep doing what you're doing, man. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have the what do they say, the eyes in the sky outside the courtroom. So if any of you all want to plug your channel, I'm sure a lot of people in here know who we are, but Tom, go ahead, plug your channel. Where can they find you? Obviously on YouTube. Go ahead.
CPU Tom on my YouTube, Instagram. That's it.
Okay. Jess?
You can follow us at fallriverreporter.com. We have a sister publication, newbedfordguide.com. And then my handle on obviously Twitter is Jess Machado Show. And then we have the Fall River Reporter one as well. So follow us there.
Will, go ahead, plug.
The Glare on YouTube. Same on Twitter, I think. Or T Glare, I think.
T Glare. And you're a hell of a tweeter, man. You're always tweeting, so.
No, I'm not. He's being very sarcastic because I'm terrible at social media. You can follow me on Instagram too if you want. I hardly post anything. I'm terrible. I'm really bad at this when I really think about it. But that's it. I'll try to get better about being more active on social media, but yeah.
Shut up.
Brian, thanks for being such a great host.
Yes, thank you, Brian.
I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. I love all of you. I love everybody here in the chat. Can we get a total? I think it was 442 the last time I looked. We knock off 25%. I think that comes to about $111. I'll round it up to 115. I'll post that right after the show. And what I do for transparency is I take the screenshot, I put it up on my Facebook page, on my YouTube community page, and then you can ultimately vet me and go right to the defense link, and you'll see LTL Media chat raiser, and I will put the date 6/6/24, and we'll put 115 up for Karen. 110. We'll round it up to 115 tonight for Karen. We'll kick that back to her. All right, everybody, please like, share, subscribe. And do me a favor on the outro. Let's throw up some pink hearts in the chat for Karen. I appreciate y'all.
Oh,
so
wait.
much. Go ahead.
I gotta, I real quick. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I screwed up your outro, but
It's okay.
I'm gonna feel like a total dick if I don't do this. You gave me the opportunity to do this, and I forgot to do it. Nick Rocco has set up a great live stream that I'm hosting with Susan Constantine. That's going to be Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So she is the behavioral analyst, a body language expert.
Mhm.
And it is behind a paywall. You have to donate a minimum of $10 to Karen's defense team, and Nick Rocco will share with you the link to watch. But it is a fundraiser, and I'm just grateful to have been chosen to host it. But yeah, it's all proceeds for that go to, as I understand it, to Karen Reed and her defense. So
Awesome.
Sorry,
No,
I
it's cool.
screwed up your outro, but I would have felt
It's
really
okay.
bad if I would have been like, oh man, I forgot to tell him about that. But
Don't
yeah,
worry about it.
Listen,
Everybody, let's throw up those pink hearts. I'm going to hit the outro. Can you guys all just kick for like
Hearts.
5 minutes backstage before we go away?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody. Good night. We'll be all streaming respectively soon. Just look out for us on our channels. We love all of you guys. Bye.
Take the changes.